Dragon Rampant. Today we are going to play scenario number D. The Crystal Gale. Look at great art in this book. Man, what a great day! Wargame Wednesday, we get to share a little shoving miniatures and rolling dice together. What a phenomenal hobby. Welcome aboard. And welcome to All the Powers of Hell. Today we have I think this might be the second appearance ever of this classic plastic figure. You know where he's from. I'm not even going to insult your wargaming intelligence by telling you. That is a big old demon. He's the boss man in charge. He's got wild charge. No, he does not. He causes fear. He flies. He moves 5 inches. He's a big bad demon. Now, he's got 6 strength points. He's got this stone demon. I believe this is from the Demon World line. It's his kind of bodyguard. I'm going to use this guy as 3 hit points to help me remember when he is at half strength. I do just have the one smushy bones swamp monster thing that will be a greater war beast. The doggos up front, those hellhounds, are lesser war beasts, the fastest moving critters around. 6 inches. Remember, 15 millimeter. We are playing this game at half scale. These lesser war beasts are fleet and they are rangers, so they're going to be able to haul butt. It's going to be a real challenge for the Broman Empire today. Not only do you have a couple of flyers, you've got these fleet guys. This eclectic mix of miniatures, I think these are like gargoyles from the D&D line. Let's see if we can get that to zoom in a little bit better. And they're not great. They're the squishy plastic I don't like. Likewise, these are some more bones figures. And then I've got, these are supposed to be familiars, but they got wings. So our little sleepy, leany plastic figure here, our snake demon. I like this one, though. I mean, this one's not bad. I might keep that one and get rid of the rest. So there's 12 of them. They are classed as bellicose foot, and I did purchase flight for them. So not only do they move 4 inches, but they are, which I guess is kind of pointless because they're rangers and they're fleet, so they kind of ignore terrain anyway. I'm going to make it a point to have terrain that will allow these guys to take advantage of their flight ability so those aren't 2 wasted points. In the meantime, let's take a look at their opponents, the Bromans. The Broman force list starts with the backbone. We've got 2 units of Lightfoot, those spearmen. We've got a unit of elite riders. They have wild charge. And then we have a unit of heavy riders with Good King Hopper himself. To that, we are adding an 8-point unit. Look at this wizard. Baldo McChinbeard. I don't know what we're going to call him. He looks Amish to me, so I don't know. We'll just call him Baldo today. This unit is classed as heavy foot. Now, I'm going to pull out 2 of these figures. These 10 figures that you see here, they have crossbows, some of them have bows. This is a warband you can get from Ralpartha Europe or Ironwind Enterprises. It's a nice little warband, good mix, but if we throw in 2 more adventurers, we come up to a nice round 12 figures. They are heavy foot. Normally, you can use shield wall. I think they call it wall of spears in this rule set. Don't let the weapons fool you. They're just a mixed bag of adventurers that are bodyguarding Baldo. Don't think we're going to be doing any wall of spears with these guys today. One thing we do need to do today is roll for King Hopper's special ability. At the start of every battle, we like to roll 3d6, and we get a 13 this time. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Today, it's Bone Shaker. Each turn, 1 unit within 6 inches of your leader may automatically pass an attack activation without needing to roll dice, but not a wild charge. So forget the wild charge. If I got somebody that I want to attack, they automatically pass if they're within 6 inches of the king. Let's zoom out, take a look at some terrain. We'll roll for who's coming in where. We'll put out some gems or some crystals for these guys to fight over, and we'll get rocking. We have a lovely group shot of both of the forces here. The first thing we have to do is determine who's going to be the attacker, who's going to be the defender. High roll is the attacker. The red die, obviously, is for the forces of hell. Yellow is for the boys in white and yellow. And hey, one more thing I should point out. One of the reasons I chose white and yellow for these guys, in addition to the obvious nod to the colors of the Vatican flag, Catholic bros. I should be flexing with this hand. Catholic bros, right? I had already painted a warband with yellow, so I am able to use this warband that I usually use for Song of Blades and Heroes or for D&D or whatever tabletop skirmish. They fit right in with this color scheme. Now that's some powerful planning. As I was saying, The forces of hell are the attackers. They are the defenders. But normally, you would have the defenders deploy and then the attackers deploy. But in this case, we need to set out some gems first. And I think we'll start with green gems. You divide the table into quadrants, and you put a gem in the center of each quadrant. Then players take turns alternating where to place the additional gems, with the exception that they have to be further than 6 inches from the edge of the table and no closer than like 3 inches to another gem. Then you dice for who comes on which side. So it's a little bit complicated. Before we get to that, though, I will point out, the pyramids are impassable and they block line of sight. The ruins, these 3 boards, also block line of sight and are impassable on foot. That allows the flyers to take advantage of their flight. However, we have a lot of wide open space in this area down here, so, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag here. It depends on who comes in where. I think that's going to drive the narrative, if you will, for this battle scene. In the meantime, let's figure out where the rest of these gems are going to go. Nice, easy spread, mostly out in the open. We don't know where the attackers are coming from yet. Normally, the defender would deploy first onto his table edge, then the attacker deploys, and then the attacker goes first. In the case of Scenario D, the Crystal Gale, we got a dice for which table edge the attacker comes in on. And it's going to be on a 1-2 over here, on a 3-4 over there, on a 5, and on a 6. So on a 1-2, he's coming in from over there. And then he is going to deploy first, and he's going to move first. Let me get everybody deployed. If you can grab 6 crystals, you win the game. Otherwise, I don't know what we're going to do. If it ends up 5-5, we'll just play out the battle. We're looking at the Bromans first, because I just want to talk strategy. The elite riders have a really poor move rate. We're going to put them up there. We're going to kind of swing them around the front. But obviously, the fastest units are the mounted units. So we got a couple of punchers that are going to kind of creep up. These 3 crystals should be pretty easy to grab. They're going to have to get up there and try to grab 3 of these. So we're going to put a premium on getting the horses up. We may use the spellcaster to try to goose the elite riders to move. They're the ones with the worst movement activation. But it's not time for that yet. We got to go look at the forces of hell first. The forces of hell, their goal is going to be to grab these 3 crystals, and then these 3 are almost a gimme for them. If they can grab these 3, they win. So the question becomes, what do we do with these war beasts? Do we race them around and try to get the crystals first, or do we race them up to try to slow down the Bromans? I'm not sure at this point. It's going to depend on what happens with these early activations. For those of you that are new to the Joy of Wargaming Dragon Rampant, I am going to use these 2 green dice for all of my activation rolls. I have 6 yellow dice and 6 white dice. I will roll 12 and 12 until we get those half-strength units, in which case it'll be, I'll just pick all the white ones and roll those. With all of that said, we are finally ready to start the game. And the first thing we want to do is activate one of these big boys. The best movement, everybody moves on a 6 for him, and everybody has wild charge except for the big old demon. We're going to start with the flyers right here. They are able to fly a total of 4 inches. Do we want to do that? No. Let's start with the zoomies. We're going to start with the greater war beast up top. And on an 8, he will move his 5 inches, and that will take him, I don't know, center to center, right to about there. Then we'll try to move our big boy, and on a 6, he will activate. He'll be able to move 5 inches. Remember, he's a war beast as well, and his little helper guy. And then we're going to use our, what are those guys classed as? 8. Those are bellicose foot. They only move 4 inches, but they do fly, so we'll fly them, and they have to stay 1.5 inches away from the big boy. So that's about as close as they can get. They'll move up into this area here, and on one more move activation, they'll be able to hop right over and claim this crystal behind the die. We've got the war beasts that have to go, and on a 7, they're going to be able to move a big 6 inches to right there. That's a clean sweep for the bad guys. Let's see if the Bromans can match. We're going to start by casting an easy spell. McBaldo is going to cast Almighty Prod on the Elite Riders. He needs a 6 or better, and he gets a 6. That spell means that if these guys fail their move check, they can re-roll it. So their move check is a 7. Let's see. Until the start of the player's next activation, the target fails its ordered activation and may immediately re-roll the test once. All right, well, that was kind of a wasted spell then, wasn't it? Because they succeeded on the first. But these guys are able to move 5 inches. And we need them to move those 5 inches. They're not going to pick up this easy crystal. They're going to target this one here. If they can grab this crystal, it makes the demon's life a lot harder. Or I should say it makes the demon's lack of a life a lot harder. Then we're going to try to move our king. He is a heavy rider. And with a 6, I think that is successful, is it not? The heavy riders have a move of... Where's my roster? Where's my roster? I got too many sheets wandering around here. Ain't that always the way? They move on a 5 up, so they will be able to move 5 inches, and we'll bring them... Likewise, we're just going to... Remember that 1.5 inches? We're going to bring them up, and I'm not too worried about that crystal because I know I've got a light foot coming up behind. They're going to be able to move 3 inches up to here. Like so, and again, you know, we got to keep that 1.5 inch buffer, so we'll just bring them up as a mob. They are not in shield wall or anything fancy like that. Boy, this is one where a goading leader could come in handy. One last unit for the good guys, and on a, we'll call that a 7. They're going to be able to move up 3 inches. The spearmen here are not rangers. They're not fleet. It's going to be a slog to get to the top of this sand dune to score this point, but it'll be worth it. That's the end of the first turn. Everybody moves on 6s. We'll start at the top and work our way down. A result of a 10 means the big boy moves. A result of a 7 means the boss demon moves. Then we'll roll for... Let's roll for these zoomies first. They move, and then these guys are going to hop over and try to grab this. On a 4, they don't. Everybody, all the big moves came through for the demons, though. The lesser war beasts are going to race up, and they're in good position to take this one. Our big boy captures his first, and he's going to be able to move up, and then our war beast over here will grab the second. So we've already got 2-0 in favor of the forces of hell, but it's not going to last. This time around, we're going to move the king first. Result of an 8 gives us a 5-inch move, and he's going to try to race up and draw aggro, and he may be able to lead the demons away from the victory conditions. That's kind of the plan there. Then we're going to try to move these guys, and on a 4, light foot, activate on a 5, that's the end of the turn. That's going to be a problem. In a situation like this, the gaminess begins to take over, and I say that as a compliment. We like games that force us to calculate things. We're going to use these guys last. This is a pretty safe gem. There's a lot of defenders up front. So the first thing we're going to do is, now after these guys move up and take that crystal, they're going to be stuck wild charging for the rest of the game. So what we're going to do instead is, remember he flies. We're going to start with him. Activating on a 6, he's going to grab this crystal if it's within range. Here's our 5 inches, and it's, oh, you know, he's just a little bit shy. He's only going to be able to make it right there. And then we'll use the Greater War Beast in the back is going to activate on an 8. And again, that Greater War Beast is, oh, is he fleet? He's a ranger, but I don't think he's fleet. So he's going to have to move up to right there, and he's very close to scoring a point. Now we can come down to the Lesser War Beasts. And look at that, they failed to activate, so that is the end of the turn. That being the case, we have an opportunity here to steal a march and maybe steal a gem. We got to bring these guys up first. And in 11 we'll do it. They are just about 5 inches away, like so. They're not going to make it. And we're actually going to cheat them over a little bit further because we're going to draw these lesser war beasts into a charge. Then we're going to try to move these guys up as a distraction, and on a 4, they failed to activate. So play now kicks back over to the other side. Thanks, Elite Riders. And being within 6 inches, there's your 6 inches, these lesser war beasts have to charge the heavy riders, whether they like it or not. Hellhounds have... Yep. So, they now make an attack roll, and they succeed on a 5-up. Which is bad news, because it allows them to grab that gem. And they are going to attack these riders. So the score is now 3 points to the red, 0 to the yellow. We will roll for the lesser war beasts first. The Hellhounds have an attack value of 4. And they're going to get a total of... And the heavy riders now have an armor of... Well, oh, wait a second. You know, wait a minute. This gets interesting. The heavy riders... We're going to keep this attack roll for the Hellhounds because it's a really good roll. The heavy riders have countercharge. On a 7-up, they can countercharge. They get the countercharge. And what that means is something interesting. It means, remember, this gem was right... Oh, not that gem. That gem's still tucked over there. This gem was right in front of them. On the countercharge, you wind up meeting in the middle, which means the heavy riders are going to pick up that gem. They're the first to touch it. I knew that would happen. So that's the first point for the heavy riders. Even better, the heavy riders now get to use their attack profile. So the bad news is they are going to take, with an armor of 3, they are going to take 2 hits. So 2 of these guys go down. The good news is they get to retaliate with 12 dice, and instead of hitting on an attack value of 5, they are going to be hitting on 4s. And the lesser, we'll re-roll that one, call that a 5. The lesser war beasts have an armor of 3. So hitting on 4s, there's going to be 1 hit with those. And we've got a 5, 5, and a 4. So that is going to be a second hit. And we'll pull off 2 of these Hellhounds. With a score of 2 to 2, the attackers are now thrown back 1.5 inches. No, correct me if I'm wrong, neither side needs to take a morale check. Well, I stand corrected. I was under the impression that after a melee is over, the only ones who test courage are the winners, but looking at the always wonderful and informative reference sheet from Osprey, the courage tests are to be tested anytime you've lost points from attacking or shooting. All right, great. So we got to make a courage check first for the lesser war beasts, and on a 2, they fail, they are battered. Now checking for the king, remember he's at +1, he gets a result of a 7, -2 is a 5. Heavy riders have a courage of 4, they're fine. These lesser war beasts have to fall back 3 inches. It's half your movement. Sometimes I get that wrong. So they fall back a lot further. And then I do use don't get confused, I use a red crystal to indicate that they're now going to be battered on their next turn. Bear in mind, this was the Hellhounds activation, so which means we're still on the Hell player's activation. That being the case, and with these guys not being subject to wild charge, we got to grab this gem. It's going to be critical that we get a 6-up. We do not, so the forces of Hell are now done. All they managed to do was charge into the teeth of one of the Broman Empire's best units. They haven't even scored either of these 2 gems yet. Oh, it's not looking good for the bad guys. Not that I'm, cheating or fudging things in any one direction or another. To make life even worse for the forces of Hell, our leader is going to activate first. And on a 10, he's going to come riding off 5 inches to here And that's really bad because now the big bad demon is going to have to wild charge over here. And that buys time for the rest of the Bromans to get up and maybe steal this gem away from the forces of hell. In the meantime, we're going to try to score this one. We get an 11, so we will be able to move these guys 3 inches to here. And I guess he comes up to there, and we're just going to kind of rough them all in. So the score now is 2-2 in favor of the boys in the yellow and the white. Next up, we're going to try to move these guys up. No more spells for you, and a 3 is a failure. But that's okay. We're still feeling pretty good because the first thing we got to do is try to rally this battered unit over here. And on a 12, they do, but they're done. So these lesser war beasts are done with their turn. Then we have to do our wild charge here. This leader demon is going to wild charge on a 6. That is an attack check, and he attacks on a 5. So he's going to fly over and attack this unit right there. He just can't help himself. These guys have counter charge. On a 7-up, they'll use their attack profile. They don't, so they just take it this time. The Greater War Beast has an attack value of 3. Oof. Oof. That's a heck of an oof. And the way I'm rolling for these guys, it's not going to be pretty for the king. We'll pull out all of the non-3s, and every 4... Is it every 3 hits? Yeah, armor 3 for the king. 1, 2, 3 hits. Takes out everybody except Hopper himself. They are at full strength, largely, so the heavy horse will get to counterattack. Their defense value is 5, and they need 4 hits to do 1 wound. They are going to roll a grand total of 1, 2 hits, so they don't even do any damage to that big demon. He does have to make a courage check at -4. -5 for the wounds, +1 because he's awesome. -4 gives him a value of 2, and he is going to have to withdraw an 1.5 inches. No, 2.5 inches, because he's got a movement of 5, and he is battered. And you do not get to use your special ability when you are battered. So no free attack actions. Next up, we're going to use this guy next. And on a result of 9, this Greater War Beast is going to move 5 inches, which will take him to here. He will pick up this crystal, and if we turn it a little bit, look at that. He's almost got another crystal. That could be a problem. We're going to try to hop over and grab this crystal with these reluctant bellicose foot. A 7 will let them do it. They can move 4 inches, which this guy is just able to clear the mountains, clear the pyramids, and we're going to move them up like this. And now the score is 4 crystals for the demon to 2 for the Bromans. That's the end of the turn. We start off by trying to rally our leader, and on a result of 4, +1 is a 5. He is a king. He's got a courage of 4. He is now rallied, but that's all he can do. Then we need to check to see if we have any wild charges. The only people that might are these horses over here. They are too far away, so now we have some decisions to make. There are 4 crystals on the board, and it's not looking good for our heroes. We need to bring these guys up here. We have got to do that. We're going to try to cast the spell on a 6-up first. And on a 3, we don't. So this game might be over pretty quick because, well, let's zoom in on the action over here first, okay? We have to start with our wild charges. We're going to wild charge with the lesser war beasts first. On a result of a 6, lesser war beasts attack on a 5. Does the king respond? With a 10, he does. So we'll move them to each other, like so. And the hellhounds are going to get to roll all of their dice, because they're still at full strength. And they are going to wipe out the king. The king gets to respond with 6 dice of his own, and because he is on the attack, because he successfully countercharged, he is going to be hitting on 4s. He gets a total of 4 hits, and that's going to eliminate 1 Hellhound. Now, these guys, these Hellhounds, and we did these guys first because it frees up the big demon to fly over and scoop up this gem. But before we get to that, these Hellhounds have to make a courage check. And on a 9, +1 because they're near their leader, -3, they're going to get a total value of 7. They're fine. Then things get worse for the Bromans. We're going to have to pull back so we can show you all 4 of our surviving units. Their leader just died. That's a terrifying thing. They all need to make a courage check. We're going to start with our 2 spearmen down here who have a courage of 4. We need to roll a 4 up because neither of them have taken any wounds. Oh, I should have specified. One of them failed and is battered. So I'm going to re-roll on a 1, 2, 3. It's these guys. On a 4, 5, 6. It's those guys. So these guys are now battered. They're going to fall back an 1.5 inches. And on their turn, and they are battered. Then we'll check for our heavy foot. They get a 6. Their courage is 4 up. They're fine. And then we'll check for our elite riders who score a 7. Their courage is 4. So that's it. The one unit here fell back, just utterly shattered and brokenhearted that King Hopper has once again died. Tried to sacrifice himself to buy these guys time, and they just stood around with their thumbs up their butts going, wow, what's our king running out there by himself for? That was pretty dumb. He's probably going to get... Oh, yeah, he got killed. What can you do? Hey, it's still the forces of hell's turn. And there is a possibility they wrap this up right now. On a 6 up, he's going to move, and he does. He scoops up gem number 5. And then on a 6 up, he will race up. And on a 7, he does. And that's gem number 6. And so the forces of hell have won the Crystal Gale. Just like that. Not a lot of fighting in this episode, was there? It was all about scooping up those gems. I think this is an interesting episode. I think this is an interesting scenario. Because you're not necessarily looking at fighting people. I think if the boss man had had a little bit more support up front, he could have bought his guys, the rest of his forces, time to scoop up those gems. He just didn't have the support. The other issue is, on the one hand, it's really good to take advantage of your opponent's wild charges. Get forces up to draw their charges away from the victory conditions. The problem is, if you draw too many wild charges, you're going to get battered around the playing field, and maybe sacrificing your king to buy 1 or 2 more activations isn't the smartest plan. Although, at the end of the day, if you can't stop rolling 3s for activations, you're just not going to have a good day with Dragon Rampant. It's all right. We'll get him next time. Till then, pray for peace. I'm praying for you.